Scaling of the work that you have been laboring on for decades. So to our President, Joe Biden, thank you for your leadership around all of these issues. Our NASA Administrator, Bill Nelson, and the Office of Science and Technology Policy Acting Director, Dr.
And actually, many U.S. government services would actually be disrupted, and hundreds of thousands of federal workers were furloughed without pay if Congress fails to provide funding for the fiscal year. Now, the Social Security Administration will continue to issue retirement and disability benefits, but it will continue under the Medicare and Medicaid health programs. The Veterans Administration will continue to pay veteran benefits, but the Small Business Administration will not be able to issue any new loans, though loans for small businesses are hurting by natural disasters and will continue. Most employees of the Federal Emergency Management Agency would remain on the job, and the agency would risk losing out for funds of disaster relief and long-term recovery projects. In 2018-2019, the White House has furloughed 1,100 of its 1,800 staff and executive office of the president. Some offices, such as the National Security Council, continue at full strength, while others, like the Office of Management, were scaled back sharply.
Equity markets, private markets, including private equity markets, where they're covered only by the weaker SEC disclosure rules.
The private funds total assets under management are about $26.5 trillion.
But how much was poured in last year? Do you know the number? I want to look at what's happening now.
Sorry, it's in the low single-digit trillions.
Well, does $4.5 trillion sound right to you?
We could get back, but it's probably in the ballpark.
Right. Okay, it's right. So do you know how much money investors put in the same time period into the public market where they got much better protection?
What you're highlighting is there's as much activity and in some years more activity in the private markets than the public markets.
Do you know what the number?
Yeah, any good news welcome at this point, right? Well, the news is that folks on Social Security will not have to file a tax return in order to get their federal stimulus check. Those are expected to be mailed out here within the next week or so. And the Treasury Department officials there announcing that Americans on Social Security or disability will no longer have to file taxes.
So more financial relief is on the way for millions of low-income households. The lawmakers have actually agreed to send out stimulus aid to those being impacted by the crisis. So Americans may actually qualify for monthly checks of up to $100. And with inflation at record highs, Americans are feeling the pain of higher prices. It's especially true when it comes to filling their gas tanks. And as of June 22, the average price of a gallon of gas was more than $5. In an effort to provide some sort of financial relief, the federal government has actually come up with several short-term options for assisting the public, while also addressing the larger short-term and issue of inflation at hand. Some of these ideas include tapping into emergency oil reserves as well as federal gas tax holidays to encourage more production out of the oil companies. One of the leading proposals at the moment is the Gas Rebate Act of 2022. It has been dubbed the gas stimulus. Similar to the stimulus checks that were sent out during the crisis, the gas stimulus check would be a series of checks sent to qualifying Americans. Now folks, listen to this. Each payment would be of actually $100, with an additional $100 for households and dependents. And for each month where the price of gas was higher than $4 a gallon, the eligibility requirements are less than $75,000 for single filers and less than $150,000 for joint filers. Many individual states have taken matters into their own hands and approved similar measures for their residents. For instance, in California, gas costs are considerably more than in other states. These are the plans to give relief checks of up to $1,000 for a qualifying family. In another group in North Carolina, the state senators are proposing giving every local licensed adult a one-time $200 stimulus payment. So the Bureau of Economic Analysis also reported today that an economic gauge that the Federal Reserve follows closely showed that inflation stayed strong in September, but mostly with expectations. So folks, the core personal consumption expenditures and price increase over 0.5% from the previous month and accelerated to 5%. The applicant must have worked between March 10th and May 7th of 2022 in one of these occupations that the state has listed. Some of the frontline workers in these categories include healthcare personnel. Eligible applicants must earn at least. Some of the frontline workers in these categories include healthcare personnel, food and agricultural workers, grocery store staff, and public transit workers. Applicants must earn less than $150,000 per year and cannot be employed by a federal or state entity. Full-time workers who earn less than $100,000 can apply for a $1,000 grant. Those earning more than $100,000 but less than $150,000 are eligible for grants on a sliding scale. ranging as low as $200. Part-timers working less than 30 hours a week can apply for a $500 grant. The application period will run until October 1st, and the goal is to process requests within a 60-day window. And for the company of Lowe's, the CEO said that in recognition of high inflation, we're providing $55 million in bonuses to our hourly frontline associates this quarter. And though there has been a slight decrease in gas and travel costs, recently the impacts of inflation are still affecting Americans, making it tougher for families to afford groceries and other essential goods. Microsoft, ExxonMobil, Walmart, USA have also offered bonuses, pay raises, and even gift cards to employees. But still, many of the nation's employers are still not paying their workers a living wage. The company website states that Lowe's employs around 300,000 associates, but it is not specified how much money each worker will receive and over what time period.
Between the White House and administration and Democrats up on Capitol Hill. Earlier today, both the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, and the Senate Republican leader, the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, were on CNBC, and they explained really the fundamental philosophical dilemma here, which is all about how much is the U.S. government going to spend. Here's what they said.
Back on its feet.
Income tax credit. State is just urging you that all taxpayers work together on this, as this can change each year.
Economy in the weeks and months to come. That's why House Democrats are focusing all week on easing inflation and bringing costs down. And I know that's what my Republican colleagues want to do as well. And while this may not be a perfect alternative, there are no perfect alternatives. This is a positive step towards decreasing the cost to our people of things that they must buy, fuel and food. To support that mission, I'm proud to bring the lower food and fuel contact to the floor today at Mr. Scott's request. America's farmers and ranchers have long fed our nation and indeed much of the world. Despite their essential work, however, they have often struggled to turn a reliable profit in recent years because of rising expenses associated particularly with fertilizer, whose costs have gone up very substantially as a result of the crisis that we confront. By making fertilizer more affordable and by improving farmers' access to loans for precision agricultural technology, this legislation will help lower these production costs, which burden smaller farmers and contribute to higher consumer food prices. Additionally, this bill will lower gas prices by increasing biofuel adoption and investment, and by giving consumers